to Victoria, where Labor Treasurer Tim Pallas is threatening to expand the existing vacant residential land tax to include regional Victoria. The new tax could also cover all Victorian residential land underdeveloped for 5 years or more. Victoria's debt is the highest of any state and by some margin, and the state government there is hooked on property taxes. Joining me to discuss this is Liberal MP Bev McArthur. Bev, welcome to the program. Take us through this new tax and what it will mean for Victorians, especially in those regional areas.
Well, it's very serious because I've got a case in my own electorate where an elderly man who's worked hard all his life, he lives in a small dwelling, but he also has a property that was left to him by his parents, which is so dilapidated it can only be used for storage. So he can't afford to fix it up to make it rentable, and yet if he doesn't, it'll be taxed. And he's got also some land that he was hoping to build a dream home on, but health and other issues have prevented him from doing it. So he's going to be taxed twice. It's just incredibly
so the
cruel.
Land with the shed on it.
Yeah.
He's calling this no man's land because he can't lease out the shed. It's not up to code. We've got so many new regulations
135 new regulations.
So he can't afford to spend the money to make it code compliant to lease out. And if he doesn't do that, he's hit with this additional tax that he can't afford. So essentially, he's got to sell this property, whether he wants to or not.
Yes.
This is the end result. This just seems to be milking property owners more and more. They seem to be hooked on these property taxes.
Well, absolutely, because they think everybody's a rich land baron. Landlords are evil. We hear it every day from the Greens. But, it's interesting. I spoke on this bill today and the government didn't put it to a vote. Now, that clearly indicates that they haven't got the numbers on the crossbench. So wait for the outcome of the negotiations with the Greens. We'll no doubt have some batshit crazy concession, which will probably end up with a rent freeze at the rate we're going, and there'll be no houses left for anybody to rent.
Well, rent freeze plus possibly, I don't know, a few more heroin injecting facilities all through the suburbs. You know what the Greens are going to be demanding, and Labor too often not meet those demands. Now, quickly, the Commonwealth Games, we're not having them because Victoria can't afford it. But the money spent on these executive salaries, we're talking around $11 million, a lot of money for games we're not going to see. Absolutely.
Well, we had Gerard Weimer, Commander Weimer. Remember him?
Oh,
he
was
the
COVID dude.
COVID controller. He was on a $2 million salary. And then I discovered there was an Indigenous Affairs Director going to receive $250,000. Now, I'm not sure what Indigenous Affairs actually got activated in the whole thing, but that's down the gurgler. So, yes, a lot of money was spent on salaries, and I'm sure they all signed contracts, so I imagine they've all taken their salary because why would they give it up?
I mean, none of them, all these highly paid executives, none of them could figure out that the state couldn't actually afford these games, that weren't going to be happening. That would have been a good little memo to circulate amongst these highly paid individuals. And I've got to ask you about the hospital sector. We've got our hospitals' massive waiting list. Those lockdowns did not help. They've been told to cut costs. They're already underfunded. Where's this going to come from? How are they going to cut their costs?
That only means cutting services to patients. It can only mean that. But we've also got another tax. I mean, today we debated the 52nd and 53rd tax, but we've got a payroll tax on clinics. So we have learnt absolutely that this is going to mean the closure of some clinics, could mean the end of Medicare. Even the Federal Health Minister has said this is not good with their extra investment in Medicare. So they're not happy with this state government who are just addicted to taxes.
They certainly are, and that debt looks like it's only going in the wrong direction. Bev McArthur, thank you so much for your time, and thanks for colour coding with me tonight. Quite the effort there.